Alright guys, so let's talk about hands. One of the things we want to do here first is I kind of wanted to make the fingers thicker. That's the proportion issue. I can use BIN to inflate them. Oh, before I do that, let's also smooth them out. I don't quite like the weird juggling effect on them. Okay, just make them smoother. Okay. Smooth can actually shrink the shape too, so just be aware of that. Don't smooth too crazy, just make the surface nice and smooth. Okay, and then we can go back to actually lower resolution. You can hit Shift D to go back. Okay, that way you can really refine everything on a bigger scale. Let me go for BIN, inflate. I can inflate the size of the thumb. Okay, all right. And then I can also drag this bottom part to reshape it too. Okay, do some dragging. Alright. Kinda want the nail to be a little bit more flat, but it is still arced and it's pointing upwards this way. Okay. Alright, and smooth the bottom a little bit. Alright. Now moving on to the other fingers and do similar things. First of all, BIN as inflate, and we can inflate the hand. Oh, and we can also Control Shift and drag out a big selection square to isolate this part, if that's easier for you to operate. Okay, so let me inflate the fingers. You can think of those fingers as you know, a cylindrical shape that gets thinner and thinner at the tip to start with, but they're also pretty square-like if you look at their sections. So they're not quite cylindrical at all, but you can think of those guys like this to start with. Okay, let me just make them bigger here, and they all have different lengths, so just try to not make them the same length. I think you know that, right? So I don't need to keep saying that at all, but just be aware, you know, the important basics proportions. And just one more finger here, right, the pinky finger, let's make it bigger too. Okay. And we can hit D button to go to a higher resolution. You can see this subdivision based structure can give you a lot of flexibilities. You can go up and down to make a bigger or smaller adjustment. So to me that feels just much better than using Dynamesh. But the requirement is that you should have a basic shape already, and a basic good topology already, and then you can do this. Okay, let me just refine the tip of the finger a little bit. Okay, alright, and there's one thing I don't quite like, which is they're having this weird pose, like the fingers are going up. I don't like that either, so I'm gonna reposition the fingers. So what I can do here is using masking with lasso. I'm gonna mask the index finger, Control click to reverse the mask, Control click to blur it, and use the gizmos. You can hit QWER to toggle those different ones. Okay, and then let me just rotate it inwards. Okay, so I kind of want it to be more like a relaxing pose. Okay, but I want it to be a little bit more straight here, so I'm trying to tweak to get a pose that I like to sculpt on. Okay, I don't like the pose it gives me. Okay, all right. So that's the index finger goes down, think I can make it go down just a little bit further. Okay, and the others I want them to also, you know, relaxed, so that I can also mask this finger, the middle finger. Okay, I can also rotate it downwards. Okay, and I can even mask the next segment. Okay, you can draw out a selection here and holding down Alt to subtract the mask. Okay, and I can now click there and then also rotate it downwards. Okay, and one more here. Now this helps me to figure out the segments. Okay, that's easier to sculpt sometimes to me. And also it just feels like a more natural pose. Okay, I'm holding down Alt while adjusting the orientation of the gizmo, so that way when I bend it, it feels easier to bend. Goes to the correct direction. Okay, so that's one more finger. Okay, and I can keep doing this for all the other fingers. Okay, so moving on to this one. Okay, and then also use the same way to rotate these guys. Okay, all right, now mask to the second segment. And rotate from there. So hand is one of the difficult part of the body. Not because, you know, it's just hard to understand, but rather it just have all those different fingers. So you have to do those, you know, one by one. If you're using my method, there are other methods you can basically creating one finger and duplicate it around from scratch. That's also possible. Okay, so sometimes I use that method instead, but I figure that's easier for beginners to have a basic shape, right, and then moving on from there. I think I should move this guy down. Okay, and then also fan out the segments and rotate. Alright, so again, an important aspect of sculpting is patience, because there are many things you have to do, so that you just have to be able to say, okay, I need to do this and that. I just need to go through all this process. So now what I'm trying to do is sculpting out some of the basic bumpness, the knuckles, how do they connect to the back. Okay, just have a little bit of that. And I think when I look at it now, I think maybe my index finger is a little small, so let me make it bigger. A lot of adjustment. This and again, the patient also include that you want to stay at a certain stage long enough to know or to make sure that that part is okay before you move on. So here I'm trying to see if the fingers are in the correct size, correct proportion, things like that. Okay. Now, one more thing I don't like about this our basic shape is that you can see the gap here. They all grow from different distance, right, from the wrist. So the actual distance will be like you have this guy here in the middle to be more far in the front. This guy can be actually a little bit towards the back, and the others of course goes back, right? So it's trying to make that happen, and I can fix something over here. Okay. I think I can make the index finger just bending a little bit because my other fingers are all bending. I feel like this is weird without bending. So let me give it a little bending here. All right. Cool. And then I can Control Shift and get everything back. Oh, I have moved something I don't quite like to move. Okay, so let me mask that and Control Click to reverse, and I can drag it backwards and move it back to where it's supposed to be. I didn't expect to do something over there. Okay, and I can use Smooth to reposition it properly. Alright, clear the graph, clear the mask. Okay, now you can see the hand is having a much better base shape with the fingers and the pose. But you should be able to comfortably say like I'm happy with this, right? Just ask yourself, am I happy with this yet, with the basic shape yet? And then you can choose to either move on or keep refining this part. Alright, so let's move on to the next video. I'm gonna block in a bit more detail on the hand. Then we can talk about further steps. Okay, see you next time.